First, I think one thing that's been on everyone's mind is the rash of hate crimes, vandalism, anti-Semitism, you name it. I know you started your hotline in November. Can you just give us an update as to how many reports you've gotten and sort of where they've been coming from?
First of all, we started it in response to what we perceive to be an upwelling of hate following the election, and I think the Southern Poverty Law Center and others have documented that that has occurred. We've received dozens of calls in response to the establishment of our hotline. I think the number is around 50. What we do with the calls is, when we think the allegations may amount to a crime, we refer to a local state's attorney. We refer the matters to schools when they relate to educational activities or kids. We had a meeting last week or 2 weeks ago, last week I guess. We just had a listening session where we brought in folks who were concerned about this issue, religious leaders, ACLU, the Anti-Defamation League, and NAACP, etc. And they share our concern. Their perception is that these incidents have increased not only in number but in seriousness, and it remains an issue of great concern for our office.
Do you feel, comfortable with the security level of, JCCs, of Jewish institutions?
I think people can be comfortable if they're safe when they're going to the JCC.
I've read various media reports that state attorneys general think that they could be an important line of defense against the Trump administration and the Republican agenda more broadly. So first, I'd be curious in hearing generally your response to the idea that state attorneys general can play a role in this.
Look, Donald Trump has threatened many of the things that we hold dear in Maryland and that I think are extremely important. Civil rights is a great example. I mean, when you talk about establishing a registry for any religious minority, that's unconstitutional. So if something like that were to occur, we would take action. Nominee after nominee, Jeff Sessions, the nominee for Attorney General, is somebody who has stood in the way of progress on civil rights and civil liberties. Registering and encouraging people to vote is a basic right. It's protected by the First Amendment. And to have somebody as Attorney General who has stood in the way of those kinds of activities, I think, is extremely upsetting, unnerving, and dangerous.
Has there been any coordination with other state attorneys general yet?
Yeah, we, Eric Schneiderman, the Attorney General of New York, and I just put together a letter of attorneys general opposing the nominations of Jeff Sessions to be Attorney General of the U.S.
Is there anything in the law or any kind of precedent for the state attorney generals to act if enough of them feel that the U.S. Attorney General has either broken the law or is doing something unconstitutional? I mean, is there precedent or law for you to act if you feel that, Jeff Sessions does something you feel is wrong?
Yes, absolutely. And you've seen Republican attorneys general act repeatedly in concert to stop initiatives of the Obama administration over the past 8 years. And Scott Pruitt, the nominee for head of EPA, has been at the tip of the spear on those. He's filed suit repeatedly to block EPA initiatives and regulations. Chesapeake Bay program was one. The Clean Power program was another. That's the one that says power plants have to reduce their CO2 emissions. And So the precedent's been established by Republican attorneys general.
Are there any other things coming up in the session you think might be important for us in the Jewish community to be following, or that we should?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a bill that I think everybody in the state ought to be interested in. We've seen evidence throughout the marketplace of extraordinarily high prices for generic drugs. The U.S. Senate Committee on Aging did a case study of 5 different drugs. One had been on the market for 63 years, and the price went suddenly from $13.50 a pill to $750 a pill, and 5,000% increase. Other drugs, 30 and 40 years, 50 years on the market, increases of 2,000 to 3,000% all of a sudden. And it's because these companies are managing to corner the market on small drugs and drugs that are essential to a small number of people. We got a settlement yesterday with Mallinckrodt for a drug that are used for infantile spasms for multiple sclerosis and some kidney problems. A small number of people have them. They jacked the price up to $34,000 per treatment all of a sudden because they had managed to corner the market. Finally, there was another study that came out recently, I'm forgetting who did it, but it shows, I think, 200 drugs where the generic drugs that have been on the market for a long time have 100% price increases over the past couple of years. So you've got this, what we see is a widespread, well-documented problem, and our antitrust laws are useful, but take a while to catch up to it. So we've got a bill that will just outlaw price gouging for generic drugs. And price gouging will be when a manufacturer charges an unconscionable amount for the drug. And
Do you define that unconscionable?
we do a little more, but basically indicators of unconscionability are, a dramatic price increase that's not related to an increase in manufacturing cost, and the lack in the market of another alternative to that drug. And the bill will allow us to go in and stop the price increase and fine seek fines against the manufacturers who are price gouging.
I'd like to get your thoughts on what your vision for the country is, what your hope for the country is after tomorrow.
I think back to words of Robert Kennedy. He, the day Martin Luther King was assassinated, Bobby Kennedy was speaking to a rally in Indianapolis, and it was a civil rights rally, and there were black and white people in the audience in the Secret Service, and his staff didn't want him to go out and talk because there was no internet, there were no cell phones. Those folks didn't know Martin Luther King had been assassinated. And Kennedy went out and he spoke anyhow, and he said, what we need in the United States now is not division. What we need in the United States now is not hatred. What we need in the United States now is not violence and lawlessness, but love and wisdom and compassion for one another, and a feeling of justice toward those who still suffer in our country. And so that's what we'll be working for.